New Opportunity was a joke. Everyone in the galactic community knew it. Perched on the habitable edge of Kepler 186f, it was Earth's most pathetic attempt at colonization to date. The funding barely covered basic life support, let alone proper defenses. When the colony ship landed 3 years ago, half the equipment was outdated, and the other half was broken. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the viewport of her cramped office, watching colonists tend to their precious hydroponic gardens. She snorted, and took another swig of synthetic coffee. "Checking on your subjects, Commander?" The sarcastic voice of Dr. Chen floated from the doorway. "Just contemplating how spectacularly my career has nosedived," Elena replied without turning around. 3 years ago I was commanding the flagship defense station over Europa. Now I'm babysitting farmers at the ass end of nowhere. The official story was that Elena had been reassigned due to insubordination after the Jupiter incident. The unofficial story involved 3 admirals, a stolen prototype defense system, and a very angry Martian diplomat. "Governor Mills wants the monthly security assessment," Chen said, dropping a tablet on her desk. Elena laughed. "Security assessment? For what? Our overwhelming force of 50 colonists armed with gardening tools. Our fearsome defense grid of 6 outdated sentry drones. Or perhaps our terrifying orbital cannon that's actually a modified weather satellite." New Opportunity wasn't just Earth's weakest colony. It was practically an invitation for attack. The neighboring Vraxian Dominion had been expanding aggressively for decades, conquering smaller outposts and stripping planets of resources. Intelligence suggested they'd been eyeing Kepler 186f for months. "You know," Elena continued, finally turning to face Chen, "Earth Command didn't even bother sending a proper military contingent. Just me and 2 security officers, who couldn't qualify for real postings." Chen shrugged. "We're an agricultural research colony. Low priority." "Low priority is generous. We're expendable." Elena gestured to the vast fields visible through the window. "Though I have to admit you scientists have performed miracles with the local flora. The colony's sole purpose was developing crops that could grow in Kepler's unique soil composition. Nothing strategic. Nothing valuable. Nothing worth defending. At least that's what everyone was meant to believe. Little did the Vraxians know this laughably weak colony was about to become their worst nightmare. The alarm blared through New Opportunity's command center at precisely 0600 colony time. Elena was already there, having slept exactly never since taking this assignment. "Report," she barked as Lieutenant Garcia stumbled in, still pulling on his uniform jacket. "Orbital sensors have detected 3. No 4 Vraxian warships entering the system," Garcia said, his voice cracking. "They'll reach our orbit in approximately 12 hours. The command center doors slid open again as Governor Mills rushed in, followed by Dr. Chen and the colony's senior staff. Their faces displayed varying shades of panic. "It gets better," Elena said, tapping the console. "They sent a message." The screen flickered to life, revealing the scaled face of a Vraxian commander. His vertical pupils narrowed as he spoke. "Human colony of Kepler 186f. This planet and its resources are now claimed by the Vraxian Dominion. You have 1 planetary rotation to surrender. Resistance will result in your annihilation. Choose wisely." The message ended. Silence filled the room. "Well," Elena said dryly, "at least they're giving us time to pack." Governor Mills collapsed into a chair. "We need to evacuate immediately." "With what ships?" Elena countered. "Our only shuttle can hold 12 people max. And the next supply vessel isn't due for 3 weeks. We should contact Earth Command," someone suggested. "Already did," Elena replied. "Help is at least 2 days away. Best case scenario." The room erupted into chaos. Suggestions ranged from immediate surrender to hiding in the cave systems north of the colony. Elena watched them argue, a strange calmness settling over her features. Inside her head, a very different conversation was taking place. "This is exactly what I've been waiting for. They came right on schedule. Everything is proceeding according to plan. Everyone quiet," she finally shouted. The room fell silent. "We're not surrendering. And we're not running." "Then what do you suggest, Commander?" Mills asked desperately. Elena's lips curled into a smile that made everyone in the room suddenly very uncomfortable. "I suggest we win." Elena stood before the assembled colonists in the main hydroponics bay, the only space large enough to hold all 50 of them. Their faces showed a mixture of fear, confusion, and desperate hope. "I know what you're thinking," Elena began. "We're screwed. Completely, utterly screwed. And you're right. If we play by conventional rules." She paced in front of them, hands clasped behind her back. "What none of you know is that before I was sent to this delightful vacation spot, I ran Black Ops for Earth Special Forces. My specialty was asymmetric warfare against technologically superior opponents." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The Jupiter incident wasn't a diplomatic failure. It was a classified operation. 3 Centaurian battleships were preparing a surprise attack on Europa. My team and I stopped them using nothing but a communications satellite, 2 mining charges, and a repurposed waste management drone. "Is that why they sent you here?" Dr. Chen asked, eyes narrowing. "As punishment." Elena laughed. "That's what everyone was supposed to think, including the Vraxians." She nodded to Lieutenant Garcia, who activated a holographic display of the colony. The image zoomed out to show the surrounding terrain. "Dr. Chen," Elena said, turning to him, "tell them about your plants." Chen hesitated. "My research is focused on adapting Earth crops to the other research," Elena interrupted. Chen sighed. "Some of the compounds we've developed have unique properties. They can rapidly degrade certain metal alloys, disrupt electronic systems, and create localized electromagnetic disturbances. Those agricultural drones you've been using," Elena continued, "they can be reprogrammed for precision deployment of these compounds. The irrigation system, with minimal modifications, it can turn the ground around the colony into a swamp. Those atmospheric analyzers, they can scramble communications on Vraxian frequencies." The colonists exchanged looks of disbelief. "You're telling us our farming equipment can fight off 4 warships?" Governor Mills asked skeptically. "No," Elena replied. "I'm telling you our disguised military research facility can neutralize a Vraxian ground force in record time." Jaws dropped around the room. New Opportunity was never just an agricultural colony, Elena explained. "It's a testbed for next-generation adaptive defense systems disguised as civilian infrastructure. Everything here serves dual purposes." "And you didn't think to tell us?" Mills demanded. "Need-to-know basis," Elena shrugged. "And now you need to know." She pulled up schematics of various colony systems, each transforming into something decidedly more weaponized. "So here's my absolutely terrible plan, that will definitely get us all killed, or save everyone in record time. We're going to let them land, and then we're going to hit them with everything we've got, in ways they cannot possibly anticipate." As Elena outlined the specifics, colonists began moving with newfound purpose, reconfiguring equipment, synthesizing compounds, repositioning sensors. The agricultural settlement rapidly transforming into a fortress unlike any the Vraxians had ever encountered. Captain Krastul stood on the command deck of the Vraxian warship Inevitable Conquest, his 7-foot frame casting a long shadow across the tactical display. His scaled skin glistened under the harsh lighting as he studied the pitiful human colony below. "Reports confirm minimal defenses, Captain," his second-in-command Vornik reported. "No orbital platforms, no planetary shield, no energy weapons detected. Their only spacecraft is a small transport shuttle, currently docked at their main facility." Krastul's mouthparts clicked in what passed for a smile among Vraxians. Typical human overextension. They claim territories they cannot defend. The Vraxian Dominion had conquered 12 systems in the past solar cycle alone. Their efficient military machine had reduced far more impressive colonies than this to smoldering ruins. Their advanced weaponry and battle-hardened soldiers made short work of frontier outposts. "How many human life forms?" Krastul asked. "Scans indicate approximately 50, Vornik replied. "Mostly scientists and agricultural workers." Krastul laughed. "A grating sound like rocks in a grinder. They send farmers to hold worlds? It's almost insulting." Around the tactical table his officers, veterans of dozens of conquests, chuckled in agreement. The Vraxian military had a reputation for overwhelming force and ruthless efficiency. Their standard procedure was well established: land troops in force, neutralize any resistance, secure critical infrastructure, and begin resource extraction. Prepare 200 ground troops, Krastol ordered. Standard conquest formation. Captain, his tactical officer interjected. With respect, 200 seems excessive for 50 unarmed humans. The Dominion does not take chances, Krastol replied sharply, and I do not leave tasks unfinished. He studied the colony layout once more. Nothing remarkable: living quarters, research facilities, agricultural domes and fields. No bunkers, no weapon emplacements. This will be the most efficient conquest in our records, Krastol predicted confidently. I expect complete control within 1 planetary hour. If only he knew. The colony hummed with controlled chaos as colonists executed Elena's plan. Agricultural drones were being retrofitted with spray mechanisms, irrigation systems rerouted, and atmospheric sensors recalibrated to new frequencies. Elena stood in the command center, watching multiple screens showing different aspects of their preparations. She tapped her earpiece. Chen. Status report. I've synthesized the compound. Chen's voice came through, strained with exhaustion. But I need to warn you again. This is untested in combat conditions. Lab results show it should degrade Vraxian armor and disrupt their systems. But the concentration might be too weak or too strong. Too weak and we die, Elena replied. Too strong, and we still win. I'll take those odds. Vraxian ships entering high orbit, Lieutenant Garcia announced. They'll be in position for landing in 20 minutes. Elena nodded. Right on schedule. She turned to the communications station. Open a channel to their command ship. The screen flickered to life, revealing Krastol's imposing face. Human commander, he said, mandibles clicking. Have you prepared your surrender? Elena smiled pleasantly. Actually, I was thinking we might negotiate terms. Krastol's vertical pupils narrowed. There are no terms. Surrender or be eliminated. See, that's just not very neighborly, Elena replied, examining her fingernails. And I was so hoping we could resolve this without you embarrassing yourselves. The Vraxian captain hissed. You dare threaten the Dominion? Threaten? No. Warn. Absolutely. Elena leaned forward. Our colony may look weak, but we have defensive capabilities you cannot imagine. Attack us, and you'll regret it. It was a calculated risk. Vraxians were notorious for their pride. Suggesting they might lose would either make them reconsider, or more likely, enrage them into making mistakes. Krastol's face contorted with anger. You will watch your colony burn, human. We will not waste energy on orbital bombardment for such an insignificant target. My troops will have the pleasure of eliminating your people personally. The connection terminated. Elena grinned. He took the bait. She said to no one in particular. Landing craft deploying, Garcia reported. ETA 5 minutes. Elena activated colony-wide communications. All stations. Final preparations. They're coming in on the ground. Exactly as we wanted. Colonists rushed to their positions. The modified irrigation systems were primed. Agricultural drones hovered silently in concealed positions. Weather modulation systems stood ready. Outside, 4 Vraxian landing craft descended through the atmosphere, kicking up dust as they approached the designated landing zones. Conveniently flat areas near the colony that were, unknown to the Vraxians, precisely where Elena wanted them. Here we go, Elena whispered, starting the timer on her wrist display. 7 minutes starts now. The Vraxian landing craft touched down in perfect formation, ramps descending with military precision. Armored troops poured out, weapons raised, forming a textbook assault pattern. Their commander, a lieutenant named Drexgor, surveyed the colony through advanced targeting optics. No resistance, he reported to Krastol. No defensive positions, no weapons detected. As expected came the captain's reply. Proceed with standard conquest protocol. The troops advanced in formation, covering ground quickly. Their armor gleamed in Kepler's reddish sunlight, sensors sweeping for any sign of danger. They found none. This is almost disappointing, Drexgor commented to his second. I expected at least token resistance. From her position in the command center,
Elena watched the Vraxian advance on multiple screens. "And so it begins," she murmured. "Minute 1 complete. Activate agricultural drones," Elena ordered. Across the colony perimeter, 20 drones that normally monitored crop health and dispersed fertilizer rose from concealed positions. Their standard spray mechanisms had been modified to carry Dr. Chen's compound, a seemingly harmless mist that began to settle on the advancing Vraxians. "What is this?" Drexgor demanded as the drones appeared. "Some kind of surveillance." His troops fired at the nearest drones, destroying 3, but the others zipped away, having already dispersed their payload. "Scans show no harmful substances," a Vraxian science officer reported. "Appears to be water vapor with trace organic compounds. Harmless." The Vraxians continued their advance, unaware that the compound was already beginning to work on a molecular level, penetrating the microseams in their armor. "Drones have delivered Phase 1, Lieutenant Garcia confirmed. Elena nodded. "Minute 2 complete. Activate irrigation systems," Elena commanded.
Throughout the fields surrounding the colony, hidden valves opened. What had appeared to be standard agricultural irrigation revealed its true purpose as water flooded into carefully designed channels, rapidly turning the firm ground into a muddy morass. The advancing Vraxian troops suddenly found themselves slogging through increasingly difficult terrain. "What is happening?" Drexgor demanded as his troops' pace slowed dramatically. Their heavy armor, designed for combat efficiency rather than difficult terrain navigation, began to sink into the mud. "They've flooded the fields," his second reported unnecessarily. "It appears to be a delaying tactic." "A futile one," Drexgor responded. "Continue advance." Elena smiled as she watched the Vraxian formation break down, their neat lines dissolving as soldiers sought firmer ground. "Minute 3 complete. Atmospheric analyzers to disrupt frequencies," Elena ordered. Throughout the colony, devices that normally monitored air quality and crop-favorable conditions switched to a secondary function, emitting precise electromagnetic pulses calibrated to the exact frequencies used by Vraxian communication systems. Across the battlefield, Vraxian comm systems suddenly filled with static and interference. "Communications compromised," a Vraxian tech specialist reported to Drexgor, "unknown source of interference. Working to re-establish clear channels." "How are they doing this?" Drexgor demanded. "Scan for electronic warfare devices." Unable to locate source, came the response. "Interference is coming from multiple directions simultaneously." In the command center, Elena watched as confusion spread through the Vraxian ranks. Their coordinated movements became disjointed as squad leaders lost contact with command. "Communications disruption effective," Garcia confirmed. "Minute 4 complete," Elena noted. "Right on schedule." "Weather modification systems," Elena commanded. The colony's climate control array, designed to protect crops from Kepler's occasionally harsh weather, activated. Moisture in the air was rapidly concentrated, creating a sudden localized fog bank that enveloped the advancing Vraxians. Simultaneously, the system generated a low-level electrical field that played havoc with the Vraxian sensor systems. "Visibility compromised," Drexgor reported to Krasthul, his transmission breaking up. "Unusual atmospheric conditions developing rapidly." "Natural weather phenomenon," Krasthul demanded. "Negative. Too localized, too sudden." Drexgor tried to organize his troops, but between the mud, communication disruption, and now near-zero visibility, the Vraxian advance had effectively stalled. Requesting orbital scan assistance. In the colony command center, Elena watched as the Vraxian formation dissolved into confused clusters. "Minute 5 complete. Pollen distribution systems," Elena ordered. The colony's specialized equipment for managing crop pollination activated, releasing a fine, nearly invisible cloud of particles carrying Chen's second compound, a more concentrated formula specifically designed to penetrate and disable Vraxian technology. The particles settled on the Vraxian armor, working their way into cooling systems, joint mechanisms, and weapon ports. Within seconds, malfunctions began cascading through their ranks. "My armor is locking up," one Vraxian soldier reported. "Weapon systems failing," reported another. Drexgor found his own armor growing increasingly rigid, its servos whining in protest. What is happening? He demanded. Throughout the Vraxian force, systems began shutting down. Weapon targeting failed. Armor mobility decreased by 50%, then 70%, then 90%. Some troops were frozen in place, their advanced combat suits transformed into immobile metal coffins. Chemical attack detected, a Vraxian scientist finally reported. Unknown compound is degrading our tech. Elena nodded with satisfaction. Minute 6 complete. Harvesting team, deploy. Elena commanded, grabbing her own gear. She led a small team of colonists operating modified agricultural harvesting vehicles. These machines, normally used to collect crops, had been repurposed with grappling mechanisms and electromagnetic disruptors. They swept out from the colony, rapidly approaching the now disabled Vraxian forces. Elena's vehicle headed straight for Drexgor, who was struggling to move in his compromised armor. Captain Krasthul, Elena transmitted on an open frequency. Your ground forces have been neutralized. Your lieutenant is about to be captured. You have two choices, retreat immediately, or lose your entire landing party. She skillfully maneuvered her harvester alongside the immobilized Vraxian officer. A mechanical arm extended, clamping onto his armor and lifting him off the ground. Impossible. Drexgor sputtered, as he found himself helplessly dangling from what appeared to be farming equipment. 7 minutes, Elena announced, checking her timer. That's a new record. On the bridge of the inevitable conquest, Captain Krasthul stared at the tactical display in stunned silence. Nearly 200 elite Vraxian troops immobilized, captured, or frantically retreating by farmers. In 7 minutes. Captain, his second prompted. The humans are hailing us again. Krasthul hissed in frustration. Display the message. Elena's face appeared on screen, looking infuriatingly calm. Behind her, Vraxian soldiers were being collected by colonists driving what appeared to be crop harvesters. The sight was both absurd and humiliating. Captain Krasthul, Elena said pleasantly. Your ground forces have been neutralized without a single casualty on either side. Quite civilized, wouldn't you say? She gestured to Drexgor, who stood rigidly nearby, his armor systems clearly compromised. I'm currently holding 176 of your troops and your lieutenant, Elena continued. Your options are limited. Orbital bombardment would kill your own people. A second landing would meet the same fate as the first. I suggest a more diplomatic approach. This is impossible. Krasthul sputtered. You are an agricultural colony. A common misconception, Elena replied with a smirk, and one we worked very hard to maintain. Back at the colony, the colonists themselves were still processing what had just happened. They moved among the disabled Vraxian soldiers, securing them and transferring the most important officers to makeshift holding facilities. Did we actually just win? Governor Mills asked, watching the aliens being efficiently rounded up by his people. We did, Doctor. Chen confirmed, examining readings from his tablet. The compound worked better than expected. It will take their systems approximately 12 hours to purge the effects. Meanwhile, Elena continued her conversation with Krasthul. Here's my proposal, you retreat from this system immediately. In return, I'll release your troops once you're beyond our sensor range. Lieutenant Drexgor, however, will remain as our guest for diplomatic discussions. You dare dictate terms to the Vraxian Dominion? Krasthul raged. I believe I've earned that right, Elena replied coolly. You have 30 minutes to decide, or I start broadcasting footage of how easily we defeated your elite forces across all frequencies. I'm sure the other powers in this sector would find it educational. The connection terminated, leaving Krasthul seething in impotent fury. At that moment, Elena's comm unit chimed. Commander Reyes, came a voice she recognized as Admiral Chen of Earth Command. We've received your emergency transmission, and have dispatched a rapid response fleet. ETA 48 hours. Hold out as best you can until, that won't be necessary, Admiral, Elena interrupted. The situation has been resolved. Resolved. The Admiral sounded confused. Our intelligence indicated 4 Vraxian warships. That intelligence was correct, Elena confirmed. They're still there, but they're preparing to leave. Their ground assault has been neutralized. Silence stretched across the comlink. You defeated a Vraxian attack force, the admiral finally asked. In 7 minutes, sir, Elena replied, unable to keep a note of pride from her voice. 7 minutes, the admiral's voice was faint with disbelief. As Elena finished her report, a cheer went up from the colonists. On the main screen, they could see the Vraxian ships beginning to power up their engines. They're leaving, Lieutenant Garcia confirmed. As agreed, we'll release their troops once they're out of the system. Elena ordered. Keep Lieutenant Drexgor secure. I think the Dominion will be very interested in negotiating for his return. Governor Mills approached Elena, shaking his head in amazement. When they sent you here, I thought you were being punished. I never imagined. That was the point, Elena replied. The weakest colony in Earth space just became its most successful defensive outpost. Not bad for a bunch of farmers. 3 days after the Vraxian retreat, New Opportunities Assembly Hall was filled with colonists still riding the high of their improbable victory. The mood was celebratory until Elena called for attention. It's time you all knew the truth, she began, standing at the front of the room with Dr. Chen and Governor Mills. My assignment here wasn't a punishment or a demotion. The room fell silent. 3 years ago, Earth intelligence detected Vraxian expansion patterns heading toward this sector. Rather than confronting them directly, Earth Command decided on a different approach. Elena paced as she spoke. We would create a target too tempting to resist an apparently defenseless colony rich in resources. Murmurs spread through the crowd. New Opportunity was designed from the ground up as a trap, Elena continued. Every system, every piece of equipment, every building has dual purposes. The agricultural focus was real, but it was also the perfect cover for developing adaptive defensive technologies. Dr. Chen stepped forward. My agricultural research was partially funded by Earth's Defense Department. Those plants we've been growing, they produce compounds that can be synthesized into the anti-technological agents we used against the Vraxians. The colonists exchanged shocked glances. You were all chosen for your dual skill sets, Elena explained. Botanists with chemistry backgrounds, engineers with military experience, medical personnel with tactical training. Your backgrounds were carefully selected to create a workforce that could transform into a defensive unit when needed. So we were bait. Someone called out from the crowd. Strategic asset is the term we prefer. Elena replied with a half smile. But yes, essentially. A trap requires bait. Governor Mills cleared his throat. I was informed of the true nature of this colony 1 week before deployment. We needed your genuine reactions, your authentic behavior as colonists to sell the deception. Earth has been secretly preparing for Vraxian aggression for years, Elena added. But we needed to understand their tactics, their technology, their weaknesses. Thanks to you we now have all three, plus a captured officer and salvaged equipment. One of the colonists stood up. So what happens now? Elena's expression turned serious. Now New Opportunity drops its cover. We officially transition to what we've always really been, Earth's most advanced defensive research outpost. The agricultural work continues, but our true purpose is now clear. She gestured to the star map behind her. The Vraxians will be back with greater numbers and new tactics. And we'll be ready. Within a month New Opportunity's reputation had transformed entirely. Once mocked as Earth's weakest colony, it was now celebrated throughout human space as the little outpost that humiliated the Vraxian Dominion. Earth Defense Force engineers and scientists poured in, expanding the facilities and implementing the technologies that had proven so effective. Agricultural drones were being redesigned with military applications in mind. Weather modification systems were being adapted for larger-scale defensive use. Irrigation-based terrain manipulation was becoming standard in colony defense protocols. They're calling it the Kepler Doctrine, Lieutenant Garcia told Elena as they reviewed reports. Adaptive non-lethal technology using repurposed civilian infrastructure. 3 other colonies have already begun implementing similar systems. The Vraxian Dominion, meanwhile, had grown suspiciously quiet. Intelligence reports suggested they were reassessing their entire strategy regarding human expansion. The embarrassment of being defeated by farmers had created political turmoil in their military hierarchy.
Elena was in her office when the communication arrived from Earth Command Headquarters. Commander Raz, Admiral Chen began formally. In recognition of your successful defense of New Opportunity, you are hereby promoted to the rank of Colonel. Furthermore, New Opportunity is being reclassified as Earth's Advanced Defense Research Outpost, with you as its commanding officer. Elena accepted the promotion with a nod. Thank you, Admiral, though I should note that the credit belongs to the entire colony. As the communication ended, Dr. Chen entered her office. Congratulations, Colonel. Elena smiled. You knew this would happen, didn't you? That you'd be promoted. It seemed likely after. No, Elena interrupted. The attack, the 7-minute victory. All of it. Chen studied her face carefully. What do you mean? Elena's smile widened. I've been planning for this exact scenario since the day I arrived. 7 minutes wasn't luck. It was the plan all along.